ShopRite's free turkey program is back. Spend the qualifying amount between now and November 23rd and get a free turkey.
Hold on a second. I'm the turkey and I'm free?
Yup. Get your free turkey today. See store or visit ShopRite.com for details.
Why don't Trevor just say, we'll be right back.
Hey guys, we'll be right back. What a great show, huh? This is fun. See you later.
This week we're joined by Trevor, Tim, and Matt of Old Irving Brewing to talk about Krampus 2023. This is episode 126 of the Malting
What's
Hour.
the haps on the hops? Got yeast and speeds. This the Malting Hour where we talk about our drink and tell you what we think every other week. And if we get drunk, well, we might slur our speech. Got the gift of gab, the friends you wish you had. Join us for a drink, join us for a laugh. Time is never wasted when you're getting wasted. The Malting Hour here, people take your places. People take your places. People take your home.
Welcome to the Malting Hour. I am one of your hosts, Tony Golick, joined always with
Brandon Winninger.
And we have a studio filled with guests today as we are celebrating Old Irving Brewing's release of Krampus, which at the time this is coming out, if you don't have any, I hope there's still some left at the tap room. Maybe there is, but you should go get some. If it's there. If not, sucks to be you. I'm sure there's still some on tap. But to my left, joined with
Trevor Rose-Hamblin.
That was real nice. And to Brandon's right,
Tim Broyles.
And in between you two,
Matthew Moldenhauer.
welcome back, you guys. Thank you for joining us for another year and sharing some Krampus with us and talking about it with us. We're super excited.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for sharing your bourbon.
It's Brandon's. I'm not sharing shit with you guys. Other than a good time. At least in my eyes. So, guys, it's Krampus time. How's everything going? I mean, like, how was it?
Fucking exhausted, man.
Very much so.
I mean, at the time of this recording, this is, as you had said earlier,
Krampus Eve.
Krampus Eve. The beer is actually being released tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Everything has led up to this point, and there have been trials and tribulations. Someone died. I mean, it's been a lot. Yeah,
wow,
it's been a lot. Yeah, no one died.
Crazy year for Krampus.
Crazy year for Krampus. But no, I think we're really excited about this year for Krampus, man. We've got a lot of new stuff on the horizon. We shook things up a little this year. We wanted to take ourselves out of our comfort zone and do something a little unique for our guests and just show them, some different things, flex our muscles in a different way. Yeah.
Well, we're really excited. Brandon and I got the chance to try one of the variants, which is Krampus in the Rye at Fobab. Was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah.
No, it was last weekend.
Yeah.
Wait, was it? I mean, not. Yeah. I mean, not.
God.
Like 2 days ago.
A week and a day.
Jeez.
A week and a day.
Wow. All this time of year blends together, boys. It's all good.
It really is all blending together. I've had a long weekend, and I can't believe we're doing this tonight. But I'm super excited, and I wouldn't have passed this up for the world because Brandon and I have talked many times about Krampus, and obviously, Matthew, you've pretty much become an honorary co-host. Way to go.
Well, thank you.
Trevor's like, free promotion.
I just love Matthew.
We do too, because he's even been on here when, I mean, I think we've had maybe Old Irving beers every time he's been on, but it hasn't always been the focus. There's been sometimes we just had it in the background.
Yeah, I just somehow always happen to have Old Irving beers on me.
It's weird.
Weird.
I don't know how that
Weird
happens.
how our sales guy carries Old Irving beer with him.
Right, like just going anywhere and he's just...
Excuse me, let me go to the boot of my car and get this.
Hey, it's not like our graphic designer just carries art on him.
Did you just say boot of my car?
Like, I do actually have a sketchbook and Matthew's. pencils in my
Look at
bag.
this Matthew being proper.
Look, I know you have this beautiful wooden bar and it feels like an English pub, but this is not, in fact, England.
Go to the boot of the car.
It was 120 seconds before we started talking over each other.
We did it! Yay! I mean, that was... I think last time it was like instantly. As soon as like introductions happened, then it was just... We're going to do better this year. We're going to do better this year. So before we get into it, why don't we talk about the lineup this year of Krampus?
Sure, man. You want me to walk you through them here?
Please. Thank you so much.
That would be my pleasure. So, first and foremost, of course, we have the regular barrel-aged Krampus cookies. And to those that are not hip, we are...
Number one, just sucks to be you if you're not hip.
Yeah, sure, man. Basically, man.
Talking over people, Tony.
Yeah. Speaking of talking over people,
It's my job.
it's all right. So we wanted to create. I wanted to create a beer that was of the holiday, but without being all like Santa-y or Jesus-y for that matter. So we went the opposite route. Obviously, Saint Nick is supposed to get the cookies and the milk and the adoration. But what does one give a hulking demon on the night when all the kiddies are getting their presents? I think a 15%. Barrel-aged stout that tastes exactly like milk and cookies is the one. So this is a milk stout, aged in different bourbon barrels every year. This one was a big emphasis on Willet as a brand. Ooh. So this is mostly Willet bourbon. There is some 15-year 1792 barrels here. We have some Basil Hayden, some of their toasted oak barrels as well, and we really wanted to make sure we're emphasizing all the beautiful like vanilla and baking spice flavors of the barrel, but then also upping our game in terms of the quality of product that we're using. So every year is better than the last because every year we're learning something new. So please.
I have a great idea.
Okay.
That was a good introduction.
Thanks.
To the first beer. Which means we should probably get into that first beer, right?
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
Yeah, let's go. Where are the glasses? Are we just pouring them into our bourbon glasses?
If you finished your bourbon. I mean, I finished my bourbon.
Mine's empty.
Well, we're going to get a little extra barrel character out of this, boys.
Sure, I'm good.
I mean, I'm happy to give new glasses, too.
No, we're fine. You know how many dishes we leave for you each time? Thank you for doing that for me.
Yeah, well, there was too much bourbon.
Well, I wanted to leave a little bit in there to add a little bonus.
It's not whatnot.
Cool.
So, as I'm pouring this beer, I want you to know that we used really beautiful organic Ghana cocoa nibs, and the most we've ever used, actually. Every time we do anything with cocoa nibs, I try to add a little bit more every time. So this is a metric fuck ton, which is a real measurement of...
Is it really?
...of Ghana cocoa nibs. I also do make... I'm not pouring it into your actual still whiskey.
More bourbon.
I'm just going to keep drinking bourbon while I'm trying to be eloquent. Jesus. And then I actually do take Madagascar vanilla beans. Ooh. And instead of like using any kind of vanilla extract or anything like that, my process is like basically cutting these vanilla beans into like smaller pieces and pureeing them with a magical mixture of ingredients to make a puree, and then that puree goes into the beer itself, so we get a lot of surface area. So instead of just getting the vanilla bean pod, like the individual particulate from the vanilla bean, you're also getting maybe some of those more like leathered and worn and like almost like, I hate to say it, I'm trying to find a good word for it, like raisinated elements of the outside of a vanilla bean introduced here. So you'll also notice that like you get a lot of like dried fig and things like that from both the barrel and the vanilla. So this is just our base, right? Our base on all these beers, except for the rye, is going to be with cocoa nibs and vanilla.
Fuck, dude.
I went in right away, aroma-wise. The vanilla is what stands out the most.
That is bizarre because I feel like I try really hard with the puree and it takes me time, and I've really dialed in that method over years. And the minute I smelled it, you took the words out of my mouth. The vanilla that I smell like after I puree all this stuff
that's what you're
is
getting.
exactly what I'm smelling, which is weird because out of the tank, this is how beer is weird and fun and exciting forever, is that out of the tank it tasted like chocolate milk. Ooh. And now the vanilla is showing up and then I know, dude, it was so good. I was like, that just tastes like straight up chocolate milk, and we were pumped. And then you carbonate it, you package it, you do all these other things, and the beer just changes. Like, it's amazing. Like, you think you're the one making the beer, but the beer is kind of making itself sometimes. It's really wild.
Well, I was going to say, what's even more fun is that, like, we packaged this beer last week, and obviously I tasted it last week, and tasting it now, a week later, it's different than it was last week.
Though I will say the cocoa nibs are showing up in like a really meaningful way, and that kind of like the lower kind of back end note is, I think, like kind of chocolate milky.
Yeah, I was once you said that like the vanilla was up front. It's not like we had talked about this just recently when we were doing the temperance Might Meets Right, and they kept it real simple this year with their variants. There was a chocolate, there was a vanilla, there was the Basil Hayden Toasted, and then which one was the reserve?
Russell Reserve.
Russell Reserve. I always forget that one.
I love that simplicity, man.
It was great. Like, it was...
I mean, Temperance always does good shit.
Absolutely, and I was super excited. And the vanilla one ended up being, if I'm not mistaken, both of our favorites.
Yeah.
Or just, but we also discussed like how vanilla. Like, I'm someone who really likes vanilla, so if there's something's going to be a vanilla bomb, I actually don't hate it, but it can be very off-putting. And I just want to stress that because I like this, and I don't want people to think because I said it last time, it's definitely not a vanilla bomb.
No.
But it is like that vanilla is right there, and then you mentioned the chocolate milk. It is on like the chocolate is there, so that vanilla and chocolate, almost like chocolatey milk type thing, like all of that is. God damn it, guys! That's really good.
We learned through a different beer we did, I think about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, that adding vanilla to the cocoa nib is really what actually pronounces the cocoa nib.
Which makes sense because you do the same thing in baking.
Right.
Correct.
So we did a beer, I actually legitimately don't recall which one it was, that we did not add vanilla to.
Yeah.
And Trevor and I both sat there going, what's missing? Why is this not hitting as hard as it usually does? And we went, oh, we didn't do vanilla this time.
Oh, wow.
They're like natural friends. And it is very interesting. Even as this beer is opening up, and this is my first time, like, really, like, by the way, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Being able to actually sit down and assess our beers in a quiet place.
Not at work with a whole bunch of shit going on.
Yeah.
It's quiet now also.
Well, and not in rapid, like, oh my gosh, we have to.
I'll be right back. I'll go get Benjamin.
I have a toddler too. I understand anarchy.
And we brought Tim.
Yeah, and I
the loud
manage
one.
a restaurant. But like, it's really nice to sit down with these beers. The chocolate's coming forward even more now. It's cool to know that the work of the vanilla actually paid off, because I, for the longest time, wasn't sure if it was, or if I was just doing it as almost like a performative action, like I've always done it.
Yeah.
Because as brewers, you have to think like, okay, I do this every year, and I might not want to change something because it works, but do we need that thing? Is it actually doing something? And the vanilla is clearly doing shit. So, yay, all that purang, me burning up. I'm not even kidding. There were years where I took our blender into the walk-in because it was overheating from puree and vanilla beans, dude. It was gnarly. And I finally found out, like, the right ratio of, like, liquid to vanilla bean to make sure it doesn't do that. What used to be, like, an, I don't know, 2-hour thing is now maybe a 45-minute thing.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Yeah, it's a very different experience. And I still have friends in this industry, really well-known ones, who are still splitting vanilla beans, taking all the seeds out, making sure they place them into the thing, like really making love to this product. But I'm like, nope, chop them up, puree them, blitz them, throw them in. But while we're talking about...
Before... I'm sorry. No, actually, get that thought. Like, hold on your thought, because I have the same thing that you were going to say. But, yeah.
But the thing I'm also realizing is the relationship between alcohol and infusion. Because obviously, whenever you're infusing anything in this world, you, like, let's say you want to make like a vodka extract or a vanilla extract, you'll put it into some neutral grain spirit. You'll extract the hell out of it because the alcohol is going to pull out all those flavors. So the higher ABV that we seem to go, because obviously this is the highest ABV we've done yet. Last year was 14%. This year is 15%. This is actually from a lab, the Revolution Lab, by the way. Side post, love those guys. They really do help us out. Yeah, Kristen Susek, she's amazing. Lab verified 15%. I feel like that higher ABV is pulling out the vanilla, the cocoa, all these other elements. So,
100%.
But what were you thinking? I want to hear the.
No, I think we were probably both on the same thing. We're thinking about, because when we've put vanilla into beers before, we're the guys that are cutting it and scraping it, and then doing like a tincture in bourbon or vodka or whatever.
I have like a bunch of Tahitian vanilla beans in white whiskey.
Sure, that's a great way to make an extract.
And it's sitting there. I think now I'm on 1.5 to 2 years, and I haven't opened it. I haven't opened it at all. It's just sitting there because I don't know what to do with it.
Well, my vanilla extract that I use is just an ongoing with Buffalo Trace. And I just keep like adding more bourbon, and then every once in a while I'll put in new vanilla and just
It's almost like Solera.
Oh, yeah.
Just like
You
keeping
just-
that extract going. That's a really smart way to do it, by the way, because you're just taking what you've already worked on and expanding upon it.
And it's a small bottle, but like I put a shot of bourbon in there like every couple of months if I'm using a lot of vanilla. It's not a lot. And then,
I definitely want to, and we don't have to do it on Myke, but when it comes to when he and I for the last like 3 years have talked about brewing the beer that we brewed one time with the cinnamon rolls from Fanny's. It was delicious. I do want to know your process for the pureeing of vanilla.
he's not Italian.
I can also give you one quick insight on vanilla.
No.
Grade A vanilla beans.
Yes.
Don't matter.
Don't
Right.
matter.
Okay. That's what. So that's like
They're pretty. They're pretty.
Right.
That's what you want to use if you're in a restaurant and you're doing a beautiful dish that you want this gorgeous vanilla bean on. Great.
Didn't we talk about last time you guys have like a vanilla bean hustler that you get online? Or
We have. I've been through a lot of different vanilla bean.
Oh, yeah, that's
But
right.
we've been
did.
pretty stuck on Vanilla Bean King for
That's
a
what
while.
that was the one. That was
Yeah,
it.
no,
That's where
these
we're
guys are great.
Found them on Reddit. Found them on Reddit.
That's right.
And Tim actually found them because Tim's like really on Reddit
A nerd.
lot and a nerd. But no, I don't have a personal relationship with those guys or anything.
Nope.
They know that we spend money. It's one of the few purveyors where I don't depend on a personal relationship for. I just know that they have consistent product. It comes in a timely manner. It's always packaged exactly the same way. And Madagascar vanilla beans has the highest amount of vanillin content than any other vanilla bean.
Best one to go with.
And if there's a brewer
My
listening,
opinion.
listen to me. Stop using fucking weird ass other vanilla beans when you're trying to get vanilla flavor. Your guests are gonna want vanilla. Stop it. Just stop being weird. Don't use the flowery bullshit. Just use fucking good vanilla. Stop it.
Just call
Don't
it
be a
Vanilla
fool.
Bean Kings. Honestly, we don't get paid by them.
we-
You
no,
know.
No, you don't have to call them. They have a website because it's 2023, Tim.
Yeah, true.
We got a Trevor rant. We got a Trevor rant.
Damn it! I can't rant. Is there any more left in that can by any chance?
There is.
Anything
Oh,
else?
yeah.
Just one little.
Yeah.
I will say, as this opens up, the vanilla was very prominent at first. Now the chocolate is coming
Yeah,
through.
Exactly. That's what we just
Dude,
said.
that's what I was
I'm
going on there.
it's literally like a fresh baked chocolate chip cookie that I'm kind of getting.
Got the cookie part.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
getting like pure milk chocolate at this point.
Yeah,
See, for me, yeah,
like this
it's
is
the
exactly
milk
what I
chocolate.
want. Like it's so good.
Okay, good, because this is what we taste out of this Wickle.
Yep.
And then it's interesting what can happen because we add and sorry that we're gonna go off on a little side tangent here.
This is why
I
you're
think
here.
the way that we add vanilla or any of our extracts, or not extracts, but ingredients, is that we add them later, almost like a dry hop, so you're gonna get an amount of aroma. I think because we're using the vanilla skins and everything else like that, that maybe almost acts like an aroma, so it opens up there.
Yep.
And then that blows out, like there's some kind of gas that blows out, and then underneath that is like this rich chocolate medley happening. But
I
it's
agree.
exciting. It's
It's
an exciting thing to have happen.
You know, not to toot our own horn, I personally love it. Like, I think this is.
Oh, we'll be tooting.
I think it's a good thing. So it's really gonna go in there and pat you on the back, but Trevor beat me to the punch of farting. I think you should, pat yourself on the back, toot your own horn on this one. And maybe I said it last year too. And again, I mean, like, yes, you guys came by here with these beers and stuff, and we've already loved the beers even before we even knew you guys the way we know you guys now, very intimately. And we would still talk about these beers the exact same way. This might be maybe one of my favorite iterations of Krampus Cookies. And
hands down.
Yeah,
Hands down.
like I really do like it. It comes and Brandon said like the chocolate chip cookie, but not like pastry stout so much chocolate chip cookie, more like ingredients, and it's kind of coming together.
It's funny
giving you that like
instead of four, that would make a great candle.
Yeah, it really
absolutely
would.
right. Yeah. Also, Jen, who works with us, Jen Denreiter, she actually makes all of her own candles.
And they're amazing.
And she's actually putting on the Krampus Karnival, wherein we're going to have a bunch of purveyors coming in. Last year we did everything on the same day. This year we're doing 2 days. So tomorrow will be the first day you can pick up your Krampus, as well as getting all the variants on tap. When Jen and her company join us for the Krampus Karnival, we're going to have an actual Krampus there. So he'll be there. The Krampus.
Krampus himself?
Krampus von Krampenstein.
Can't wait to give Krampus my
be there.
list
Yeah,
of everything
do you know
I
how
want
tempted
this
I am?
year.
It might just be Pete from Bloodletter, her husband, dressed up in a Krampus outfit.
kind
But
of
we
short
won't
for
tell
it,
the
but
kids
that's okay.
that.
Don't tell the kids that. I want kids to know this.
But please come. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be a bunch of different vendors doing witchy Christmas things. So if you don't vibe By the way, Christmas originally was witchy. It was put on by pagans until the Christians stole it. But we're taking it back, and it's going to be a little bit creepier, a little bit weirder.
That's the way it should be.
We do also have a kind of a little secret release that's going to happen that night.
A draft only.
A draft only, taste only of the. So we made a high ABV.
Are you going to tell us right now?
Yeah.
This is the actual
This is the reveal.
Trevor.
This is a reveal.
So we did a high ABV Krampus that we blended in with all of this Krampus.
Yeah.
Hit about 20%.
Holy shit!
Whoa! So we did only a handful of barrels of those that we blended in with everything.
As
we
a matter
kept
of
the
fact,
barrel back.
Yeah,
only one barrel.
Makes sense, yeah.
Literally one, not brewer's barrel, but a physical barrel.
A 51-gallon barrel.
Yeah, that has a 20% Krampus that we are going to put into a small keg and serve just tastes of that as a fun.
You haven't done that yet.
Blended in.
Did you bring any tonight?
We did not.
We didn't.
Oh.
Can we come wheeze the juice?
Yes.
So long as you never say that again.
Please don't wheeze
No
the
promises.
juice.
No
However,
promises.
I will say that something I just had an idea of, Tim, that would be really freaking cool. I think the beer itself is not supposed to be very palatable. I mean, that's not the point of it. We wanted it to strip. Like, basically, we took like the high ABV Krampus, thinking like I said earlier, the alcohol extraction ratio, and trying to get more oak, because obviously as these things get more adjuncts and they get thicker, sometimes the barrel can get lost a little bit. So we've started blending in an amount of this. So this is like a very barrel forward version, and so the tannic structure is pretty intense on the palate. What might be kind of cool is to sell it as an additional entity with a pipette, so people can add more barrel character to their other beers.
Ooh,
also have
that's
individually.
really fun.
We have all those little plastic pipettes. I think when
plenty.
you get a taste of it, it's served with a pipette, and be like, if you want a little bit more barrel character in any of your Krampus flight, and it'll encourage people to get the whole flight to try.
That's an awesome
Now,
idea.
super cool.
That's actually a really good idea.
Full disclaimer: if that doesn't happen, do not be mad.
It's happening already.
I'm just going to ask for it anyway.
Yeah,
Be furious.
yeah. Be pissed and ask for Trevor.
I'll be honest,
by
like
name.
100% of my great ideas come from your basement. I don't know if you noticed, I break
Come
into your
over.
home a lot.
Brandon, there's been times where I've been here setting up shows and you weren't here, and I'm like, Trevor, you gotta go.
Yeah, I just scuttle away. Like,
But I had an idea. One shot of bourbon and I'm gone.
It's like Zoidberg.
That's where my Heaven Hill went.
Just 2 notes on things that were said there.
Yes.
The pickup for Krampus is starting November 14th, which is tomorrow, but won't be released on the podcast till next week.
Correct. So
it will
pickup has already happened.
It's
yes.
already happening.
Fair.
So come get everything that you're trying. And then can you reiterate the date of Krampus Karnival,
December 3rd.
which is a Sunday?
Yes.
Correct.
Now, I had a question.
That is when that high ABV Krampus will
The
be
Lord's
available.
Day.
Will be December 3rd.
And that's what I was going to ask was that, but I think you've already answered that, is that will all of these variants be on tap for the carnival?
Yes, we kept back enough where I'm fairly, unless like people go like absolute ape shit on our barrel-aged stuff. We kept so much back that I think we're gonna be very covered.
We definitely kept back a considerable amount more this year than we did last year.
Yeah.
Cool.
We ran into that problem last year where we ran out way quicker than we expected to.
Yeah,
Of what we had on draft.
kegs, yeah.
So I think we tripled. Yeah. In some of the variants, we tripled, doubled, whatever. We have a considerable amount more.
We can't fit all the kegs in our walk-in.
Correct. We have a double stacked pallet of kegs waiting to get put into the walk-in.
That's awesome.
As opposed to the ones that
good.
are already there.
Now I feel like, because I was like, obviously timing of this and when we could all get together, we wanted to do more of a preview, but I don't even know if it would have been able to happen last week because you guys
it would not have been able
off
to.
anyway. So this
We
is the only time
literally
we're
finished the last canning today.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That was.
And for a lot of people don't know kind of what goes into. I'm gonna explain this beer first, but then we'll kind of go into what a lot of us producers have to do in order to get ready for this. And obviously there's space constraints and everything else, but we'll start with what's in your glass right now. This is Krampus and the Rye. So obviously last year was the first time we did a non-adjunct Krampus, and by that I mean we didn't add cocoa nibs or vanilla to it. This year, so last year was all bourbon. This year we just decided to do rye. So this is all Willett Estate rye. It's a blend of 7-year, 9 and 5-year, but there's also just like the regular Willet Rye as well. And for anybody that knows, there is a difference between Willet Estate and just like regular Willet Rye. Most of the liquid in here is estate rye, and it has been aged for a considerable amount of time. The thought here was that a lot of those kind of like peppery notes you might get from rye is going to help to cut through the barrel, but also like lend itself really well to like the roasted malt. And kind of a surprise, and just to be like completely candid about the brewing experience without being overly romantic, our lift went down in the brewery. So our battery went down like the week of Krampus.
I know that doesn't sound crazy to some people.
I'm a warehouse manager.
We stack our kegs,
that means
our barrels very high, and
with
we need
with an electronic lift. And so this thing went down right when we're supposed to be doing all this. We've already set dates and things like that, and we could have gone back, but I knew, just with dimensions and hoses, but we could make it happen. Not exactly the most safe way, but we definitely made it happen. I put myself up there. Obviously, I'm not willing to do anything that... I'm not going to make anyone do anything that I'm not willing to do. We did get a little bit of a relief by knowing friends who work in the whiskey business that said, I've done worse than that. And we're like, thank God.
Yep. Won't call those people out, but they are well renowned.
So for FOBAB this year, we were only able to get what we could get to. Because our rye was kind of mixed in with our bourbon, which is going to change the way we do bourbon barrels probably in the future, because it was kind of like rye scattered throughout. So instead of having all your rye in one spot, it was like rye, bourbon. They're all like, tagged, but it was a little bit of chaos. So we were able to get essentially to 3 of these wooden barrels, and what came out the other end, we were actually surprised by, because compared to the bourbon version, the same batch of liquid that was brewed, the rye seemed to be tasting sweeter than the bourbon, and we can't quite explain it. It could have been the alcohol that was in there before was maybe higher proof. There's like a lot of things that could have gone on, but the end point was at FOBAB, the overall report I got back was that Krampus in the Rye was reading very sweet, and I tried it obviously before it went out. I thought it was sweet, and then my business partner had 60 different ones. He's like, it's reading very sweet. Yeah, he said 60. I was like, Jesus Christ.
He's probably not wrong. I was there.
Yeah.
I saw him briefly and then did not see him again.
He's from Missouri. And so, and then when we got it back, I was like, hell yeah. But now, that we've developed our barrel age program for so long, we have more levers to pull. So I've got some other things that I can do in terms of blending that we weren't able to do before because we had limited inventory. So this year I was like, okay, I have something that's a little bit hotter. I've obviously got some things going on here to really balance those flavors. And I mean, that's why all of your famous Belgian brewers who are doing creeks and lambics and things like that, they're blending certain percentages together, and we always start with a simple bench trial, 5 glasses, and we make sure to blend in a certain amount until it's like a tuning fork, really lovely. And we did that with this. So what you're having here in your glass right now is, I think, not a far cry, but definitely different than what was served at FOBAB.
I agree 100%. And I'll be honest, I'm happy to hear that is exactly what you guys got from it as well, because one of the things I said to Brandon, I go, it's kind of sweet. I don't remember Krampus being this sweet. It wasn't didn't turn me off from it, but I was like, oh, it's just, it's a little different. That's fine. Yep. Having this now, and also not as cold, which is much better to me. And you said it earlier, it's one of the distinct things I get from Ryan, I think a lot of people do, is the pepperiness that helps. I think that comes out a little bit more now than it did at FOBAB, and it's hit or miss for me with rye. I think it's the same way with Clark. There's certain, I like rye whiskey, but it's hit or miss for me when it comes to beers that are aged in rye barrels, and this, I think, you guys, whatever happened, how you guys were able to blend it to dial it down, that sweetness, it's letting the rye and that kind of shine a little bit more without taking away from what you guys have already made for the base for Krampus. And I think that it's a nice follow-up to Krampus in the Buff. Because Krampus in the Buff, I think a lot of us that was our favorite variant last year, which is wild.
Ours as well.
I mean, all the other variants are great, and it's kind of funny. It's like, well, there it is. It's here. This is just what it is. Like, there's not a lot going on here, but like, it was great. Like, it was really nice because I think we got so used to how all the other ones were too, and like you get not used to, but you guys are changing it, and it was nice to have like, oh wow, here's like, here it is in the buff, literally. So having this like in the rye, that's really, really nice. I like the rye.
Yeah, and I will say this is a little. It's still sweet.
Yeah,
it's not as sweet as it was when we had it on draft. And that's the thing about like Fobab. I mean, like we got lucky enough to go in as media and we go for the VIP. And like when you get there right at the top of this thing starting, all of these stouts are like ice cold coming out. And I'm like, okay. So it's either you walk around and you're like warming it up in your hand or whatever. But like, so like the second or third one we had was Krampus in the rye. And both of us were just like, yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah.
And then it went back again a little later, and I had it, and it wasn't as cold anymore, and it was still sweet. But I think like this version too is it's dialed down a little bit less, but you can still tell like versus
what's fun
cookies.
is the percentage that we blended in was tiny.
Yeah.
It did not take much. It was a couple percent.
Because we know what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a play on the cookie.
Yeah.
And like we know that it's supposed to be a little bit sweet.
Yeah.
We're gonna have more barrel experiments coming out later that have more of an emphasis on barrel, less of an emphasis on sweet. Like this is just for this brand. It's Krampus Cookies. Even in the non-adjuncted version, it's going to be a little bit sweet. But you're absolutely right. The cut for me on the palate was just like sweet, right down the middle of my palate, like right to the back of your throat, fucking sweet. And it was just like, that sucks. Because that's not what we want.
Yeah.
And honestly, like over the years, you do a beer enough times, you start, back in the day, it was just kind of like the Wild West where we were just like, whatever happens, it's kind of a snowflake. But now we get to like really sit down. And actually, Tim's one of my favorite people to come to because I'll go, what do you think? And he'll go, it's reading like this. I'm like, thank God. It's like basically I just go to Tim to get a backup of what I'm already thinking. And some of the other brewers, they have all amazing palates in different ways, but Tim specifically has this way about him that's like no bullshit and also an absolute truth where he goes, I'm going to give it to you exactly the way I perceive it. And you just have to understand that honestly, like other people have other things going on in their minds. Tim, when he's drinking that beer, he's like, no, dude, this is reading sweet. What was it that we had where it was, I can't remember which variant it was this year, but you said something, and I was like, cool. And it meant more work for Tim.
Yep.
Like, that sucks. Like, it was like, because at the end of the day, I'm like, no.
Breakfast with the maple.
It was breakfast with the maple.
Job security. Security.
Well, I'm salaried. Tim
could easily
the extra
take
work
that,
would have been great to not have.
And Tim is putting up a ton of work making sure. I mean, he designed the Krampus on these labels. I mean, this is just as much Tim's beer as it is anyone else's. But like for him to say like, no, it needs this, knowing that on the other side of that means more hours in the brew house.
Yep.
Like that's pretty dope. So.
Yeah. Tim, quick, kind of a big sheet.
I mean, it helps that I'm single with no children.
True.
So therefore, the time spent in the brew house, while it's not fun being at work. I mean, I do enjoy my work. Don't get me wrong. I love my work. I would also like to not be there sometimes.
Sure. But also,
I want the product to be right.
I was just going to say, it seemed like knowing who you guys all are, you all definitely care about what you're doing and what you're putting out here. And just like you said, it's easy to be like, well, okay, that didn't work. And at one point, but now you have like, it's not easier, but you have the opportunity and the tools to be able to be like, oh, good, we can adjust, we can do things. There's things that we can do to make this the way we absolutely want it to be. And I like that you guys did the adjustment the way you did, because rye, like I said, rye to me is very particular, and you did a great job. And I'm really excited for people. I mean, so far the two, but I think people who like in the buff last year will probably feel the same way about this.
So the one thing that I really like about
this... Oh, Matthew, you're still here.
Yeah, dude. I'm so glad you're starting to speak.
Fuck, I forgot you were even here. I thought Clark was here.
I put my hours in. And
also, just so you know, we had our annual business plan meeting today, and Matthew put together the whole business plan meeting for our distributors and collected data from like the last 2 years. So he just had to be up in front of like the heads of our distributor, and including 2 owners of OIB, like showing him all the work that he's been doing, and absolutely killed it. So he might be a little bit quiet now, but earlier today he was doing a ton of freaking work. So
right on.
This is my Matthew appreciation post.
Wow.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, to go back to the rye appreciation without being cut off.
I was going to say, how much did you talk about the malting hour? Also, there's this podcast I'm on every now and then. Thank you, and have a nice day, everybody.
We'll talk about it when we get the Patreon up and
We'll talk
running.
about that.
But this is the first time I had the rye since we had the original barrels for Fobab. And what I really like about the rye coming through is I know that we didn't adjunct it with any cocoa nibs, but the spice on the rye really gives me almost cocoa nibs without the sweetness, where you get that like slight little bitterness, and it gives that like essence of chocolatiness without actually being there. And I think that's almost the perceived sweetness while it's warm, without going there. But as you said, being Krampus Cookies and a thicker, richer stout, to me that just works so well because the barrel shines through with just a little bit of that essence of it.
Almost like that baker's chocolate.
Yeah.
Only not as bad as when your mom let you take a bite of that.
There have been a few beers that have gotten that baker's chocolate flavor. That's a good represent or description of that beer as well. That's something that I feel like, with that peppery cutting, the sweetness of it, I think you're right. It lends it to like almost that baker's chocolate. So there had definitely been some great stouts that really lean on that like dark cocoa baker's chocolate, and I almost prefer that the most out of some like chocolate ones. Now, real quick, before we get into this, I thought at first this was breakfast Krampus.
Really? Okay.
I did, because the smell of it, and then I swirled it around a bunch more, and then like, this reminds me of s'more cereal that we took and fucking French pressed into Bourbon County before.
Same.
Which was one of the, because literally you can just take Golden Grahams, chocolate chips, and little marshmallows. You get the same idea.
Yeah.
But Brandon bought the actual Kellogg's s'more cereal, and we did that, and it was so much better. Because Golden Grahams is one of my favorite things to French press a nice big sweet stout.
I still got that stack of
It's
Little
so
Debbie's
good.
oatmeal cream pies that we're going to French press
we
into
still gotta do
something.
that, yeah. If you take Golden Grahams and impart that into like,
so
I've
good.
never done any of this.
the French press.
Oh god, it's so good.
This is
Now
mind-boggling to me
we've
right
got
now.
your episode to come back on for.
This is mind-boggling to
the
me. I've
French
never seen
pressing
this.
of beers like that is so much fun.
And forgive me if I'm wrong, Golden Grahams is like all about that honey.
Yeah.
Right. So the funny thing is, like, the hardest thing in brewing to harness
It's honey.
is
the
the
taste.
flavor of honey.
And really, you just let it sit in like a little bit of a French press with some barrel-aged stout or like a big stout.
It's nice when you don't have to worry about cans exploding.
Exactly. Sorry.
trouble.
We just let it sit for a little bit.
Yeah.
Look at
So-
that. Matthew broke his own rule, by the way. He was talking over you.
He's
and I.
sidebarred.
I talked under.
The microphone was there. I guarantee you it's on the episode. I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking
Well, sorry.
You could probably easily turn
great,
around.
it was a great pun. It's all about that base malt.
I thought the same. So I thought about something like that too, but I didn't say it.
No trouble.
Doesn't count, doesn't count.
Trevor. What are we drinking?
Oh, it's all good, guys. I love the banter. And also great to hear from you, Matthew. I'm glad you're a part of this podcast.
It really.
And also, I just
is.
want to reiterate, great job today. So, Fireside Krampus. Obviously, this year people are going to be kind of bummed because we have gotten rid of 2 of my favorites.
Well, not gotten rid of, just
Not
this
gotten
year.
rid of,
They're just not here this year.
They're not here
ahead of
this
them.
year. We're trying to maybe, make some new things. We're a very, for our bases that we've created for our core styles, we're very happy with. But like with other things, we have some wiggle room, and I like to play a lot. You guys know me from a previous life, which was in molecular gastronomy and doing like restaurants and stuff like that. So being able to play and having like a little field in which to experiment is important. And I think that we've attracted a certain amount of clientele and guests who are along for that ride. And I think people are starting to trust us, and that's really fun. I don't know if I trust myself as much as other people do, because when we're doing stuff like this, I'm like, what the fuck did I do? No, this is a bad idea. But we've never done a s'more, like a real s'more stout, without getting into some kind of other fuckery. So the idea here was we've already got a base. We know that we have vanilla and we have chocolate. So what if we up the chocolate, up the vanilla, added some marshmallow, and then let the grain do the talking for a s'more? It's fun because this is reading very marshmallow, which is very exciting. However, is it reading s'more? I don't know. This is reading definitely marshmallow. I think it reads more like marshmallow cereal, and I'm maybe more excited about it because of that. Because I know what I'm going to call it next time. Because as you know, we have Cinnamon Prost, which is already kind of a cereal kind of guided beer anyway. But
which is also Brandon.
But I would love to get your impressions because obviously this is the one I was most nervous about this year by far, without a doubt.
Would you like to go first, Brandon?
Yeah, what I was gonna say when I first smelled it, like I literally just took my first sip, but I was kind of swishing it around. And I smelled it, and I was like, "Why am I getting amaretto?" And then
oh shit.
And then I swirled some more. And I'm like, oh crap, why am I only getting chocolate? And then I started swirling. I'm like, now it's like a blend of all of that. And literally it. So you kind of said the s'more cereal. I'm like, it didn't smell like a s'mores. It smelled like the s'mores cereal that we get every year because my wife's addicted to it too. So I was like, holy shit, there it is. But it was so interesting how complex the aroma was and how it kind of winded through this little trail. And just by swirling it off of that, 3-ounce pour that I have, really well done. And then that sip, it was literally the s'more cereal. That's when we French pressed Bourbon County in s'more cereal. I'm like, that's it right there. Yeah. Pretty much spot on almost.
Astute observation. I do feel like it changes between sips.
I agree. And that's why, like I said, when I was swirling it around in the beginning, I'm like, is this the breakfast because the sweetness in there? And then I finally got the vanilla and everything. So 100%. I don't know if you it seemed like a very dramatic reaction of what I had to it when I took the sip. Tim, I don't know if you saw my head go down completely to the bar.
I did.
We thought you were.
I don't know if you will be. This is just me.
Go ahead.
I don't know if there'll ever be another variant that'll impress me as much as this one. The fact that you were talking about how much you're like, oh fuck, what did I do when you do certain things?
Yeah, scary.
This is the most s'mores, the closest thing to a s'mores. And yes, I agree, more s'mores cereal than actual s'mores because I feel like it's maybe hard to actually really get s'mores flavor, but you get the idea. I almost want the s'mores cereal more.
The kid, it's the kid in me that is
we were talking about the s'mores cereal is really kind of like Golden Grams with chocolate and marshmallow, and it really, really, really hit everything that I wanted and expected from this beer. We gotta wait on this Tim.
Oh, sorry. Me and Tim were
sorry. I was trying to get him to flip the order.
I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
They're talking about.
I did this very specifically.
Fair. I was going in the order that we packaged them.
And you were also saving what we think is the best for last, and it makes complete sense.
Because we kind of went this was our favorite, and then the next one was our. This was our favorite.
I know where you're going. This
was our favorite.
Before we get to those,
the next one,
which
was our favorite, until the last one, which was our favorite. So
yeah,
okay, I like that.
I appreciate that.
I mean it. And again, not blowing smoke. If great, good.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that.
Really.
This, no joke. When we got this one, this was one that we were the most. I don't want to say afraid of.
Apprehensive.
I think that makes sense.
That's a great word.
How are you going to nail all those? S'mores is yes, there's a s'mores flavor, but s'mores comes from multiple things. Granted,
two of those. A collab with Hammerheart and doing smoked malt in this next year. Yeah, smoked malt Krampus.
That is
okay. It's not a bad idea, and it's not one I haven't thought of. Matthew, I like that idea. Except for those fuckers will want us to ferment it down to 1 Play-Doh. Dry beers.
But that's because they're awesome, and I love them.
Don't worry, they do metal. You can get them drunk enough.
We could also just use smoked malt.
What's else?
The coolest thing about this is you guys both talked about something that brought back a memory. And that's the unidentified fun part of making these holiday beers is nostalgia. Mm-hmm. Sean from Phase 3 nails it every time when he talks about nostalgia. It's an important piece of the pie, as it were. There's some certain beers here we can take a little bit more seriously. Like when I'm trying to get barrel out, and I've got Marty from frickin' Revolution sitting there tasting my rye barrel-aged thing, and he's given me some guidance over the year. I feel like his Padawan, and he's the Jedi of barrels. That's a little bit more serious. But when we get into s'mores, I'm like, fuck it. I want you to feel like a kid again. That's just more fun.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of a fun experiment in all this is that we've taken some pieces that maybe are more serious. We've got some nostalgia, fun, fuck it beers like Fireside, which, by the way, was the highest selling out of any beer we had was Fireside, was the s'mores one.
That makes sense. Which is interesting because it's the unknown, though.
Yeah.
Like, we a couple of these we've had before, but this one is a brand new one.
I think that piques a lot of interest.
And the lowest one is the next one, so we'll talk about that in a second after our break.
Which is
wild. The lowest selling was the one where we literally toasted and hand toasted and like made love. Not physically to this beer.
Speak for yourself.
To make sure that it is taken care of. So, we'll get into that in a moment, but I understand everyone needs a break. We give our palates a break. Whiskey break.
Just say, you know what, Trevor, just say, we'll be right back.
Hey guys, we'll be right back. What a great show, huh? This is fun. See you later.
And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here going through this year's 2023 lineup of Old Irving Brewing's Krampus Barrel-aged Stout. And it's been very fun. We're joined here with Trevor, Tim, and, pretty much everybody's favorite guest, Matthew.
He's my favorite guest. I love you so much, Matthew.
Matthew, we love you.
Yeah.
So I keep having you back here. If we didn't like you, we wouldn't tell you to keep coming back.
Welcome to the Matthew Appreciation Hour.
It really is. And
I really like this. I think
sounds like a new beer, baby. Now I'm going to tell you this. Off mic, I raved about the s'mores. Like I was swearing about it and everything.
True. We did some raving on Myke too.
Oh, I know, but I think I did the heavy, and then we were eating some of these cheese balls here, which are very good. I am really excited about.
I'm really curious how it's going to change your palate.
I think we also had some of the actual Willet straight rye whiskey.
We did.
Which is very nice. Thank you.
Which I may have just drank way too fast.
It was also interesting, I think, for all of us to know that
so good. It burned so good.
It had a burn, but it also had some sweetness. So that might have been the answer to our earlier question. Why was rye Krampus so sweet?
I really do think 100% that had to do with it.
Yeah,
because it tasted definitely sweeter like a bourbon than it did a whiskey.
I agree with that.
And I think I like that. Because I'm more of a bourbon than whiskey guy. So I think I really like that.
I think I have a weird thing where I taste like sugars and things in a different in a weird way. So like when I have Krampus in the rye, like that was sweet. When I have the Willet, to me that's sugary. Like I get more like it like I'm not getting so much of a sweet essence, but I'm getting like there's a sugarness to it that like I'm getting more of the flavors of the sugar than I am of like an actual sweetness. It definitely is sweeter than most bourbons, but I notice that a lot when like people are like, oh, this is a really sweet bourbon. I'm like, tastes like sugar, but not sweet. I don't know.
Yeah, it might almost be like a barrel resin. Like it's almost like brown sugar, like molasses.
Yes,
sugar.
exactly.
And for me, like, I just you can't see this because you guys are listening to us.
I'll describe it
vocally.
I almost set up the camera.
I just took my last little sip of the Willet, and you're absolutely right. It is brown sugar, molasses, all these other things. Your chairs make it sound like I'm partying.
It's okay. When we were at Temperance, I thought we were going to hear the chair that I was in, and it did not sound like it. I mean, we can all be quiet.
Be careful, those chairs have been known to spontaneously just collapse.
Okay, not gonna lie. I have broken one of these chairs.
I didn't know. We were having.
But I'm much heavier than you, so
all right. About it. So we appreciated, obviously, the s'more. So I'm really glad that you guys like that. That was the riskiest one for us. Obviously, anytime that we're doing anything with barrel-aged beer, we're always trying to accentuate things that the American oak will automatically give us, whether it's vanilla or coconut or almond, or this leads to the next beer. So this is Krampus Candy. Not the best name, I think, for this beer because...
Can I tell you something real quick before I jump into it? When
Please.
I heard Krampus Candy before I read the description, I'm like, oh, there's going to be peppermint in it.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Motherfucker. I bet that's why it didn't sell as well.
Have you guys done that yet?
That's a good call.
Have you guys done a mint one?
We haven't.
We're scared of peppermint.
Don't be
I'm
scared.
not gonna lie.
Please.
We're scared of peppermint.
Get some mint in
There's a
there.
future.
Like,
that is a mutual thing Trevor and I have talked about in the past.
Oh, it's so
scary.
great though. Like, I love
peppermint
mint
is
and
so
chocolate.
difficult.
I believe it.
We've had so many beers that have peppermint in them that are terrible.
Yeah.
We have had good ones too. Don't get me wrong.
I've had
We've had ones that are great.
What is a good one you had?
The Two Brothers Peppermint Bark.
Okay.
That had like the right amount of. It's not like
I think I remember that one.
And it's almost like it's almost subdued where it's like you take a sip and you're like, I think there's peppermint there. I think.
Okay, yeah, you almost had to imagine.
And then you take another sip and it warmed up. You're like, okay, there's like a mint there where
All
it's
right.
not like. I would be afraid too, especially the amount that you're like.
Here's my deal about peppermint or anything like mint related is that it is green. And so we're talking about chlorophyll, we're talking about grassiness.
Chlorophyll, more like borophyll.
More like borophyll.
Sorry. There's so many things I wanted to throw in while you were talking, Trevor.
It's okay.
That's the one I just had to get. I'm so sorry.
You are okay. I would make the same mistake.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Rude for the episode.
But like mint, peppermint, anything like that it would be like it's obviously an herb. It's green. It grows out of your garden. It's gonna have grassiness to it. It's gonna have a lot of other things. And when I'm thinking about chocolate, rich, bourbon, everything else, the last thing I'm thinking about is mint. Like, I think there are certain barrels, though, to your point, that do express mint.
Yeah.
Like when we start talking about like maybe French oak and things like that, there might be some of that element.
100%.
So I think in a subdued and really cool way, you could really do it. I think it's just going to take a certain kind of creative fellow to prep that mint in a way that is not going to be offensive to the barrel character or anything like that. Did you just kick that cat?
Nope.
And make sure that it's well integrated into a barrel-aged stout.
And we have talked about the peppermint in the past.
It makes sense, right?
I gotta be honest. I feel like there's gonna come a time where you guys are going to do it.
What if we do this?
But
Because I've had enough drinks at this point.
Oh boy!
What if
signing up for this right now?
One of the years we do a malting hour Krampus, and we just do like a small keg of a super experimental, what we think is like the most Christmassy thing, and then we bust into it on your little kegerator, and we go, "What did we do? And why is it terrible?"
Oh, God. Why I was going to say, why did we do this?
Damn it, I got so excited.
Seriously. Like,
that's actually a really good idea.
Like 1 year, like you guys have had us on this podcast every year. No one else offers to do a Krampus podcast.
Why?
You guys,
why is no one else?
Because they're wrong.
Yeah, they are wrong. I'm being honest. They are wrong.
No, it's a really nice thing. You guys are locals. It was a 5-minute drive here from the brewery. You guys make the most sense. You guys have this awesome relationship with Matthew.
And us.
I think, and us, obviously. But
I mean,
more.
I love Tim.
Thank you.
This guy spends a
Matthew
lot
as well.
more time in this basement than we do. And
That's only because Tim's not always available.
True.
That's right. So I think we should do one. You guys want to do a mint Krampus in 2024?
I'm a homebody. I'm a homebody. Let's be honest.
What would your perfect Christmas Krampus beer be? And it doesn't have to be answered now on this podcast, But
mine is mint. But Brandon, you can think about it.
Yeah, like what is? Right, but also, I think we all like want that nostalgia. Like, what is the nostalgic piece that reminds you of Christmas?
It's funny that you said that though, because I was thinking back. Like, there's you have Krampus cookies that kind of nails like a chocolate chip cookie essence, and then I was like thinking back. This would not work in a stout. And I'm not suggest. Literally, the first thing, my mom, God rest her soul, like. And I don't know if I told the story like before or on the last episode, but my mom used to do the year before she died, she made 26 different varieties of cookies and made about 40 different plates to give to people. That's all she did was just make plates to give to people.
What a lady.
When she called me, she was like, I can't do it this year. Like it was like November, like the day after Thanksgiving. I can't do it this year. Maybe I'll do. I think my limit's like 5. 26 she did. That was like more than she's ever done in her life. But so kolachkis are like high on my list of things that like I remember. But then there's like so many other like there's like the chocolate kisses, and like she would do like these caramel cookies.
You mean like
the
chocolate peanut butter?
Yeah,
ones,
like the peanut butter kiss.
Like, those are so good.
Like my mom would make those. She would do these like almost like a turtle cookie.
Ooh. We're talking salt. Chocolate peanuts. Salt chocolate peanuts. That's what I just heard.
Salt chocolate caramel also.
Caramel,
yeah, that would be some nostalgia.
Also, and into that.
And all those flavors are amazing.
My wife is from the south side of Chicago, and her grandmother made kolachkis all the time. I love the kolachki idea. I think that'd be so cool to like do different flavors.
Yeah.
Because we don't fuck with fruit in any of our stouts. I'm kind of scared of it. That would be.
I have disagreed with this for years.
I hate fruit and stouts.
Well,
that's me though.
That's why I'm afraid of it. Is because there's a lot of use.
Yes,
there's a lot of use. I want blackberry in here.
Yeah. I think it would marry stuff really nicely. But I think to your point, I think doing something kind of pie-y, because you've already got the basics, right? Like when we think about what a kolachki is, right? You're talking about a dough. You're talking about sugar. You're talking about fruit. To emphasize all of that, when I think of pie dough or pie in general, I'm thinking about cinnamon, I'm thinking about brown sugar, I'm thinking about other elements, and then like introducing some fruit to all that could be really fucking rad. Krampus kolachki.
Actually,
it sounds
obviously
good. Yeah, that's the most Chicago Krampus.
And I'll be honest, like
ever.
When I think
Chicago's
of kolachki,
Krampus kolache.
Oh my god, that's like
KK. Oh no.
Okay.
No.
But then I think like you did talk about like
it's
do like if you do a later release, do like a Krampus
Punchki. One wild moment.
Oh,
Krampus Punchki.
Punchki.
Dude, that's even...
Well, that troubles me. But yeah, I understand.
We'll talk about this again in there.
We'll talk.
But the kolachki, I feel like...
Well, raspberry might not be bad.
Especially in Chicago.
Raspberry and apricot were the two flavors that my mom like always did.
So those are the best ones.
Apricot's my favorite.
I think a raspberry...
So much that I had apricot in my wedding cake because that was like a tribute to my mom.
Because those are the best kolachkis.
That's so fucking good.
The best kolachkis. They're the ones rarely taken, and they're the ones that I consume the most.
My mom literally would go take my dad for hours to go to stores just to make sure she found seedless raspberries and seedless apricots to make sure that she had the perfect filling for her kolachkis, so she could go home and make 500 of them.
Now I'll be honest, the one thing, and he's whispering something to Matthew right now, we're going to talk over it real quick. The one thing that
he agrees
Tim said was blackberry.
Yeah.
Which to me,
that's the one I want.
Blackberry, I'll be honest, especially with Krampus, I don't know why, but blackberry sounds good. And when you guys started talking about kolachki, I don't know if I've ever had like a blackberry kolachki, but if you could get like...
I wouldn't turn one down.
About a kolachki, like you said.
It's just a little pie.
But talking about you're exactly... I never thought about that until you just said it, Trevor. Like, it literally is just like a nice, thinly folded dough.
It's like a hostess pie, right?
It's so good. And blackberry, I think, might be one of the fruits that I think would work well with Krampus.
I have been discussing this with Trevor for many years about putting blackberry into Krampus.
Look, I'm not ashamed of saying that I'm a coward and that fruit scares me. The people who've done fruit have done it amazingly well. Haymarket is my perfect example of people using fruit plus barrel. Pete Crowley with his fruit plus barrel. That man knows how to make those things sing. And I do know him, so I will...
Say, it's almost like we're not friends with him.
Yeah, maybe I should
just
be
like, hey, dude,
Pete,
how are you doing?
If you're listening,
how are you?
Call me.
Shut up. I'm going to be by soon. So anyway,
let's get
to
back
the
on
topic
track
at hand.
Yeah.
I do love that idea, Sesh. I appreciate everyone's input. I'm not going to use any of it.
Great.
So
when Pepperhead shows up next year.
So let's go into what we're drinking right now, right?
My original idea was just to have you guys make a perfect winter Krampus for the show, and I think that's still a really great and viable idea. Let's make at least one like individual keg.
Yeah.
It could be a homebrew recipe. I think we just peel off some of it, like we'll peel off the six still, and we'll infuse it with some flavors. I think that'd be really
that would be
a wonderful idea.
And then we can like
do this on the
put
episode,
it up, and then maybe some people really love it, and we'll all love it, and then it becomes
turns out
thing
to be a
next
thing.
year. Who knows, man? The future is always true.
As long as they're cheese balls and
we can do a malting hour Krampus, and then who knows? It becomes a thing.
Oh my god!
Are we doing a cheese ball Krampus?
Tim, don't tease us with the malting hour Krampus. That would like solidify everything for us.
Every adult male who has ADHD, shut up right now. All right, so our next one is barrel-aged Krampus candy, which we all agree is a wrong name for it. That's okay.
Yep.
But we took about 200 pounds of coconut. We toasted it. It took me like 4 or 5 hours, I think.
Yeah.
Going in and out of our 5-tier oven.
It was a lot of work.
We take shredded coconut.
Fucking paid off.
And on top of that, my favorite thing is what Cole said. He said, if I could do anything right now, I would manifest all this coconut into a human and beat it up. Because we don't have
so much work.
We still don't have an infusion tank, so we have 2 bright tanks, and so one of our bright tanks doesn't carb as well as the other one. So what we do is we use one tank to infuse. So he had to hand bag all this coconut on top of a week of already hand bagging all the vanilla, which gave him a skin reaction, by the way.
Yep.
Hand bagging all of the cocoa nibs. Hand bagging everything, and then the coconut comes, and it's just Lexon after Lexon after Lexon. I had a whole table filled of all this coconut, and I was like, and that's only half of the amount I bought. So I had planned on putting even more coconut into this, and then I bought 125 pounds of raw almonds that I ran and like chopped down, strained, roasted. Which is funny because when you taste the beer, it's kind of subtle. And I'm really upset about it.
Okay, real quick. Before we talk anything else, but like, yes, tasting wise, absolutely. But
it's a far cry different than the rest of them.
Aroma wise, it smells like you know when you so Halloween just passed, you know, and you have a mountain like that's the one time when you have like almond. Yeah, sorry, dude, you missed it. Almond Joy mounds, almond joy and mounds.
I'm literally getting almond joy vibes.
Yeah,
is what I was gonna say.
It smells like it
100%.
100% smells like one of those little miniature almond joys.
That's exactly what we're going for. Well, we're going almond joy, the almond with the coconut with the chocolate, and I think it's there.
I think the taste of the almond is there.
And just for those that don't know,
and I feel like with
I don't know if there's
almond joy has
almond
nuts. Mounds don't.
I know. Originally
because sometimes you feel like a nut.
Jesus, Brandon.
Sometimes you don't.
We're not sponsored by fucking Almond Joy or Mounds.
We should be.
We should be. Or Ritz in these fucking delicious.
It was in my fucking head. I had to let it out.
I will say that this is by far the favorite of staff. This is so far the favorite staff one.
It does. So almond.
Mind you, all of us have very short attention spans, though.
True.
So
almond is tough to impart into a beer.
Well, yeah, that is one of the things. So, like, we tried this obviously last week prior to the almond. We did the coconut first, and then we did the almond over the weekend. And the coconut before the almond, everyone loved. And we did the almond over the weekend. So today we got to hit it with everything. And the reaction was still immediately favorite.
Yeah, I think that
from multiple staff members, multiple people, including myself.
If I couldn't taste the almond, I would have said it tastes like a Mounds because there are coconut. Like there are been some stouts that I've had that have been like, oh yeah, it's like a Mounds or it's like an almond joy. Where there's almond and there's coconut and it's chocolate. It's like nope, that tastes like a Mounds.
Yeah,
that tastes like a Mounds. The aroma hits with the almond, and I will say this also, everybody. Do yourself a favor while drinking these beers. These are very close. I mean, these are at this point, they are room temperature. It's not super warm down here. It's got to be, what, in the 50s?
Yeah, I'd say 50s, 60s. Yeah.
Somewhere between there. No. You could be a little. It could be a little. What are you saying, Trevor?
I think it's warmer than 50s or 60s.
You think it's like in the 70s?
It's probably about 68.
That's 60, where I'm at.
It's usually between 68 and 70 down here.
Alexa, what's the temperature down here right now?
She doesn't know.
God damn it,
Alexa.
You might be right, but
Alexa's not that smart.
I don't know. It's pretty. Oh my god! I just smelled that, and I know what that smells like. I know what it is, but it smells like what I think is. I didn't know if it was in here.
It's actually 72.
Oh wow!
Okay, so maybe it's a little warmer than it should be, but like
this heat.
I will say that like
I can turn on the
as
fireplace.
these beers warm up, I feel like I'm getting a lot more from them.
Oh, 100%. Do not drink these beers cold.
Don't drink them ice cold. Drink them
honestly,
chilled.
like I would not have said that until tonight.
Coffee.
But yes, these are way better at room temp.
I will be honest. When you had said, "Hey, they haven't really been chilled," I was like, "All right, well, here we go." I guess it's gonna be Trevor's warm stout night.
Let's be honest. The beer is not 72 degrees. The beer is still like 50 degrees.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you.
So there's a difference in
is.
cellar temperature and room temperature. And part of the reason why I like the almond, while it doesn't necessarily scream nuts while you smell it, it's the tannins.
Come on, that's too funny. Sorry, Matthew. Sorry, please continue.
That made Tim laugh.
It was very rude of me to do that. I apologize.
It's the tannins of the almonds that I really like. Trying this beer previously with the coconut, while I love the coconut, it did overwhelm the beer where all you got was coconut. And so I really like of the balance of the almonds is I think it gives it this really nice structure where the coconut is right up front, hits you, and then has this nice little sharp, quick end to it where you get this just slight bitterness at the end, which I believe is the almond.
I agree 100%.
And I love the balance of it.
I actually agree 100%.
There's some chocolate and sweetness there at the end too. Yep. Like it's.
R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett. This is for you.
By the way, Ray Stout taught us this trick.
Cheese Krampus in paradise.
Swirling it around with your hand on top.
I love the CO2 buildup and then
going in there and let it explode. Yeah, that was what I was doing with.
They call it a beer
so
conky.
Much credit from you for this.
This is you shake it up and you let it explode into your face.
Because normally I swirl it around and just go, and Ray was like, no, put your hand on top. We're doing the over talking.
To avoid
over talking.
Future things. I'm gonna bring it back real quick to really focus on this one. So we liked overall impressions of the last one, 2023 Krampus Candy. Let's start with our hosts. Did you guys enjoy it? What are your overall impressions of it?
With the last one we just had?
Yeah, Krampus Candy.
That is probably my second favorite.
Okay, you have two. The
S'mores is still there for me. That's probably like I said. That's probably one of the first.
Sure.
Quote unquote Almond Joy stouts. Tim just flipped me off, even though I know he's just pushing his glasses up.
I really didn't.
But like, I'm pretty sure he was giving me a subtle message.
Totally was not doing that.
That's no. You guys hit. I know you were. That hit Almond Joy to me more than any other Almond Joy type beer.
Cool. Yeah, and I think I'm in the same camp. Like just because I'm a huge fan of s'mores and the nostalgia of like s'more cereal versus like I liked Almond Joys. I mean, I'm a fat kid, so I definitely had Almond Joys in my life, but they were not my favorite. I would eat some s'mores, the hell out of some s'more cereal. So it's that one's my first. Almond Joy is my second. And this one though is.
Well, I'll say this: it's pretty tough then to go. I know because we're getting very close here to the end because this is the last one, but it's very it's very hard for me to choose like between Krampus and the Rye and Krampus Cookies where I would go, because we've done this before of like certain episodes where like, well, hey, where would you rank these specifically here? It's not because like, oh, if I chose this at the end, it's like that one sucks in comparison. It's just for me personally for my
that's okay.
That's probably the hardest thing right now.
Yeah,
because I know where this one's gonna fall.
Yeah, no, it's okay for this experiment. I was just wondering like where you guys are at so far. It's interesting because obviously like we go through the work, and so we obviously have our own like vision of. Okay, we know how much coconut went into it. We know how much almond, how much work, how much opening bags, how much all this other stuff we did. And then the funny thing is that s'mores was the one where we actually did use and utilize extract. In an elegant way, by the way. It wasn't like we just like went, okay, let's just buy this one extract that we think tastes good.
Dump it, it's fine. I got it.
No, this was something that came from me tapping into a lot of my friends who do this. Brandon over at
Not you.
Workforce.
over at work. What?
Workforce?
Yes. He obviously has a small one. These are the two things I use together. So I ordered samples, and then I did what I thought would be right. By the way, Brandon was right. Brandon Wright from Workforce, and so it took a lot of trial and error and a lot of bench trials to get to that point. So it's not like we didn't. A lot of the head work did not exactly equate to physical work, but then you get into the most recent one, and this is a relationship that we've had for a long time, where over the years we've started to be very surprised by coffee. And I think coffee and beer as a relationship is something so interesting. You see it in so many other beers, like whether we're talking about Maplewood and the Cuppa series, because we actually do work with the same roaster. We work with Parker over at Hexa Coffee, and to see how our beers react differently to coffee. We've had crazy bitter coffees that have made our beers more elegant.
Yep.
And then we've had some more subtly bitter coffees that are maybe more acidic that have fucked it up and made it terrible. We are completely always surprised by it, so we always do a bench trial on it. And the way we do it is exactly how we brew it. So we take it, we grind it to basically almost like an espresso grind, hit it into the coffee through a cheesecloth, let it sit for 24 hours. Do we like it? The proportions, because our math isn't great, because we drink for a living, but at the end, does it make sense? And then once the coffee tastes really great, then we can start incorporating other flavors. This year was obviously a little Canadian tuxedo, a little coffee and maple, but this year when we first had that coffee, the first thing I was like, boom, cinnamon, baking spice, barrel characteristic, all this other stuff. I think there maybe is a little bit of that green going on, but not too much. I think it's going to even out over time, and then that doubled with the maple syrup characteristic. I think it's pretty nice.
I'm pretty happy with this. I'll be honest. I'm happier with this right now than I was last week when we canned it. Because 1 week, I think it toned down a lot of the notes that I was not happy with last week. Personally,
that's great. We are obviously having our own experience, but I'm interested to know what our guests.
I was going to say, did we specifically say what we were drinking?
No, we did not.
We didn't. So right now it is the Breakfast Krampus.
This was one of the most interesting ones for me because I feel like
a lot more maple.
Dude, there's a hit or miss.
Much higher maple than I expected.
Same.
It would. Go ahead.
Have you guys done? I don't remember. Has there been many coffee Krampuses in the past?
So yes,
yeah.
How many? Every year.
Cocoa Krampus was coconut and coffee. We also had Breakfast Krampus in the past, which was
Breakfast
exactly
Krampus. 2019
was
that's the only one I
Krampus.
remember is the Breakfast Krampus. I don't remember.
The cocoa is always coconut and coffee. Yeah.
Oh wow, I never realized.
I believe we have had coffee every year.
Every year.
Maybe not the first year.
So maybe this is. So maybe why I'm asking that is I feel like it is very much in the forefront of this one.
That's good. And that's
good.
I like it.
That's actually a good thing.
Yeah, and you had said, Trevor, about the greenness of it. There is that slight
choose your
green
poison.
bell pepper.
There is a little bit of that for me.
A little bit. Yeah, I agree.
But it's. I'll tell you this though.
I agree with that.
Brandon and I have talked about this for other times we've done other beers where we've been here with 3 or 4 other people and we've all drank it and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm getting this, and then 2 other people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't get that at all. And then we went to another beer and like, oh, this is all green pepper, and Brandon and I are like, what are you talking about? This isn't green pepper to me. It's not green pepper, but there is. I feel like there are certain people who have a sensitive palate to it, of like coffee and stuff. But I will say this. That being said, this is still in my top 3.
Yeah,
because it is that maple coffee combo in there. You mentioned cinnamon, or something I didn't really process that would be mixed in. This is very good. It's very tasty, but I think some people might be sensitive to that coffee.
Fair.
I was worried that the maple wasn't going to come through.
No,
to the point, because I knew about this and I was like, I've got a bottle of barrel-aged maple syrup over there. Do I need to pour some in? But this is super well balanced to the point where I'm getting some residual stickiness on the tongue and the mouth, and it's super super good and really
You get
well
the green
done.
at all?
No.
Not hitting you?
Honestly, it came out at first, and then it just completely dissipated.
That's also a good point.
I think
when you first crack things, that initial push of CO2 can sometimes be
and I would say, I think on the aroma, I got a little bit of green. But when I waited a little bit, and then I tasted it, and I was like, it wasn't there,
Yeah.
It really well done.
But just so you know.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No.
So what we actually do is we do grind it. Parker grinds it all for us. We do these bench trials, and like every time I tell them, I'm like, if I'm going to do coffee, what I've realized about the GP is that, as the general public, is that they want. People might not know Matthew.
He's right. I didn't know what GP meant. Matthew.
I didn't either. It just hit me. It was funny.
I also had no idea what he was saying either until he said general public.
The general public might not know, like, there's like so much, like, there's so many cool coffees out there that hit all these like really cool subliminal notes that are like, oh man, this is so fun because it doesn't taste like coffee. No, if I'm doing a coffee beer, I want it to taste like coffee.
Hit like coffee.
Yeah. So I'm looking for, like, you're at a diner drinking coffee. And not to say that like Parker's coffee is diner coffee, it's amazing.
Hey,
but
there's certain diners out there that like crank out great coffee.
He has coffee flavored coffee that's really fucking good. So that's why we use his stuff, and I think it shows excellently in this because it's like, yeah, I feel like I'm in Canada having a stack of pancakes and a coffee.
I'm with fantastic. Like I said, I think maybe like there are certain. So I'll say this about. Like with Maplewood. So like the cup of stuff, I love. It's actually this year's barrel-aged cup of stuff was one of my favorites from Fobab this year because it was like drinking just crushed up Oreo cookies.
Dude, that beer was so fucking good.
Dude, chill out real quick. Okay, we're here promoting this.
Like he's thinking about leaving Old Irving to go to Maplewood because
God no.
They're barrel.
I love them to death.
No, it's
but
so
no,
good.
I don't want to work there.
But I'll say this. There are certain stouts that they make, and I think I've talked about this maybe with other people and other brewers and other companies, that like there's certain roasted malts that puts off like this really strong like tinny flavor to me.
Yeah.
I really want to know what's happening.
No, I think Matthew's laughing at the fact that I'm just like
eat them all.
He's also laughing at me saying I don't want to work for Maplewood. I love them. I love Ari. I love everyone.
Oh no,
there was not a negative thing in any way, shape, or form. I just want to put that out there.
But like with Fat Pug,
I love where I work.
But like with Fat Pug, like when I first opened up a Fat Pug, like even the morbidly obese Fat Pug or the s'mores Fat Pug they did this year, I don't know what roasted malt that they're using where I get like and I'm just using Maplewood as an example, and I've talked about it on the show because we love Maplewood as well, but there are certain stouts where I get like a tinny taste, aluminum metal taste.
That's a really common thing with stouts.
That's the same thing I feel like that comes with like, I don't want to express that about as far as coffee goes in certain stouts where it's like, you know, I said that to you and you're like, damn it. It's like, well, no, I feel like it's my personal palate that Brandon didn't get it and Trevor kind of got it, but it's not necessarily like, oh fuck, it's like a green pepper. I just wanted to make sure that people know that like I'm not saying like, no, this tastes like green pepper.
Whenever you open a coffee, I think you're gonna get that right away, but obviously go back and smell it now if you have any left. If you don't,
is that in the can?
I got you. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest.
Go back now.
I'm gonna tell you if I smell it or not. I swear to God, Trevor. So fucking
no, it comes off like more chocolatey now and everything like that. There's something that happens.
Let's do a QV.
You have to realize, like, when you open a can of beer, there's so much more than just going on with the beer. There's some science happening,
right?
And that there's like a layer of CO2 that's sitting on top with that little bit of headspace that's gonna give some aroma right away, and those gases will blow off. So whenever you're drinking a beer, it's always good practice to like let it sit for a second, let it chill. Come back to it and let it know what's going on. It's a living, breathing thing. It's letting off CO2. It's in your glass. It's gonna have its own personality, and that's my favorite thing about tonight and hanging out with you guys is that like we haven't really. And every year we get to look at our beers in like a very chilled out, fun way where we get to like.
Thanks for thinking we're fun, man.
You guys are very fun.
In all honesty, like literally coming at these beers right now. Like, obviously, the last week and a half.
I'm proud of shit.
You guys should be. You really should be.
But, like, the last week and a half, I have spent my entire life of the last week and a half packaging these beers, making these work, and tasting them every day. But at the same time, you get, like, a taste blindness, almost.
Yeah.
And so now, approaching them now, even if it's a day away... It's really fun, and it's really nice to see what the actual packaged product is. because it's not what I had out of a tank, out of a Zwickle, out of this.
When you very first got the chance to like try, like, okay, so we're here. So now it's the first time trying it. Where are we at?
Right. And so this is actually really lovely. Also, actually really good from a producer standpoint, where I actually get to now see this and go, oh, I have ideas. Here's where this is. Here's where,
This is the guest experience.
Yeah.
Not our experience in the brew house, where we're rushing around, making sure everything's great. Tasting, getting taste blindness. And then being like, okay, so this is the end part of our work. Sitting down. Like, this is what people are going to taste when they get those fucking they're expensive 2-packs.
Yeah. A lot of work goes into it. A lot goes into it. You guys are you're not really... Look, the barrel-aged beer conundrum, I would say, especially in Chicago, is that there's a lot. There's a lot of great breweries doing
phenomenal.
I think Chicago's
phenomenal.
Barrel-aged beer. Yeah, absolutely. Like, as people get hyped up about, like, East Coast, like, hazy IPAs, which also Chicago does a fantastic job at. Beezer,
but also those East Coast guys do also awesome shit.
Oh, absolutely. But I feel like we're so spoiled, me and Brandon specifically, because we're counting you guys out as an actual company. As consumers, we're super spoiled to be able to be like, wow, it's this time of year where it's like, and I know I'm leaving some people out, but it's like, when you think of like you've got, Goose Island you throw up there right at the top.
Obviously,
it's also like, but then you've got like Revolution, and then Half Acre, and there's you guys, and there's Temperance, and there's fucking everybody, and Brickstone, and there's like all these like Illinois, Chicago breweries who are just cranking out really good beers. The time and effort and everything that goes into it, I've learned, especially doing this podcast and talking like the last, I don't know, man, are we going on 6 years at this point now? 5 years, 6 years?
5 years.
Talking with brewers, owners, and everything, and how much that goes into it. When I see certain prices of beers, there's a lot of times where I'm like, well, that makes sense. And yeah, you're right. It is an expensive 2-pack. But also being able to talk to you guys, and I think if people also, do a little bit of research of like what goes into these beers and like everything that goes into it, it makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. Am I going to pay $100 for a 12-ounce bottle that's in a little shitty wooden box that has a wax top and it's like rated the #1 beer in the world? Absolutely not.
Right.
But if you want to do that, please, by all means, go right ahead. That's totally fine.
Yep.
I would rather pay...
What beer are you talking about?
I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, I'm like,
He's made this reference a few times.
Absolutely.
I will say right now, like, we work so hard on these beers.
yeah.
It shows, man. It really does.
And we try to make it a point to make them inexpensive as possible.
Yeah.
We limit our profit margin. We make sure that these are things that are approachable, that they're things that your random person can get, and not these crazy, $50 bottles of beer,
Sure.
things like that.
I'll be very honest. I make that extremely difficult because I always use higher and higher quality ingredients every year. But that's our thing, is like the highest quality. We'll take a smaller margin just to make sure people know that, like, hey, like, this is our appreciation moment. This is like when we get to show you our hard work. I mean, we closed down OIB for 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, I know Matthew is stressing to make sure that like all these things are happening. It's important, and it's awesome to see that my team all understands how important that is, and that what is good is not good enough.
Wow. Okay. I can see that. I mean, and I think that sounded like a really shitty response to what you just said. Okay, yeah, that sounds fine.
Yeah, sure.
What's good, not's good enough. I was kind of caught off guard. Like, I knew where you were going with that. I was like, oh, okay, fine, Trevor, if that's how you feel. What's good's not good enough. Mainly because in my mind, I appreciate that. But I will say that, like, what you guys do, what you think is like you said, good, not good enough. Mm-hmm. It's, I think, as a consumer, as someone who is, last year, do you know how many times I purchased Krampus in the Buff from when I'm just stopping in there and grabbing, like,
happy.
I'll grab one more 2-pack. I'll grab the peanut butter one, that's fine. Like, just knowing, like, okay, this is the, like, just limiting myself is like being money, like, I'm not going to buy this again. I just gotta make sure I'm going to do this, and then I'd be like, well, I'm going to stop back in there again. So I will say that, like, this lineup specifically, I think this year might be one of my favorites. I'm not a fan of Champurrado. I get like
really,
sorry. I'm so sorry. It's only because like I don't really care for like spicy stouts. I don't. It's like fruited stouts. You know what I mean? But like I know that's a thing.
That's a hot thing. That was a very.
I'm sure it's tough to like not.
It was contentious.
I will tell you this. This particular lineup, it's a lineup for somebody like me. Having that other pour of the breakfast one, that coffee was still there, minus the little vegetal. Like the vegetal is not so much there. We also are drinking eating some like beef sticks. I don't know what we're eating, but it's also.
I've just started ripping open a lot of beef jerky.
Bags. So here's going to be my little Trevor appreciation.
Should we get a Trevor appreciation too?
Yeah.
What?
I don't need that. Since day one of knowing Trevor, one of the things that I really appreciate is not only has he put one of the best beers in front of me, but then he always asks the follow-up question and learning from other people of what they think. It's not always that someone else's opinion is right or not right, but he really wants to learn and he listens to people and he tries to hear what you guys are saying.
Literally,
and saying
asking
all these different things. And so even if you don't necessarily take for granted what you're saying, he'll process this and he'll sit with it, and I think to your own detriment sometimes lose sleep over this. Yeah. But he will come back and he will continue to make the beer better every single time. And it's one of the things that I just admire about Trevor is that he just always wants to make what he's doing better. And if you're not growing, you're dying. And so it's one of the things I love about you.
Wow, I appreciate that, man. That was really nice, Matthew.
That was good, Matthew. It looks like you have a job in 2024.
In all honesty, that is like
fucking good.
No, I'm joking around.
To piggyback on what Matthew was saying, and
I was gonna sit here and eat beef jerky.
There's a reason why Trevor and I have worked as well together as we have.
Yeah. From
day one, we both came from fine dining backgrounds of stupid palates and just doing. And we also both came from molecular gastronomy backgrounds, which is even more insane in the fine dining world. Like, legitimately, two of the ones that did it. I worked with the Galenian Group. He worked with Moto. And it's why he and I have worked as well together, is because we have this idea of making sure these flavors work for everyone. Not just for us, but for everyone.
I think you guys. Sorry.
No, I was just
Trevor.
No, that was the end of mine. Sorry.
I love cutting Trevor off.
It came out like it was going to be a big thing.
No. That was good. Small. I was going to say, I think you guys.
You all have a job at Utz if you want one.
Yeah, we could have that.
Taste
I will say this. I think I said it right beforehand.
Also, Utz kills it on cheese curds. Just so you know, or cheese balls. Sorry, cheese balls.
Fantastic. Sorry. If they did cheese curds, I mean that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Get them on the shelf.
The world would be in.
These were made 6 years ago.
Great. Again, I think it's another successful year for you guys. Thanks, for Krampus.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys coming by. I mean, we express love for you guys all the time, and we love the friendship that we formed with you guys. And Brandon and his family go there constantly. When my mom comes in, it's one of the stops that I bring her to. You've become a staple in the neighborhood and our lives, and it's really great to sit around and talk with you guys about these beers because of how special they are and how much time, effort, thought, and work goes into these. For me personally, like I said, this lineup for me is top fucking notch. I'm not even gonna rank them. I'm not even gonna rank them because I think it's unfair to all of the beers individually, which we normally do. We'll normally rank things, just be like, oh, for this night, how do you feel like that?
I'm okay with ranking, by the way.
Are you afraid?
Don't feel bad about ranking in front of us.
No.
Please.
The only thing I will say is that the campfire is my number one.
Perfect.
And everything else can fall into number two for me. And I'm never afraid of ranking beers because we're very honest, especially about like doesn't mean like that's not my favorite beer. It's just this is where it falls. Like we do with pumpkin beers and shit like that. We're like, oh, tonight this is just where my palate is. Honestly, for me, it would be today, and then tomorrow I can go back to these and probably rearrange them. Except Campfire will still be number one. Yeah. I'm gonna throw that out there right there. That is.
I'll tell you right now, we rank our own beers.
Oh yeah, that's great. We do. I would too. It would be like a fantasy football draft.
Personally, The candy is my favorite.
like
the coconut almond.
Yeah.
That's my personal favorite.
What's Matthew? What's your personal favorite?
From this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Jesus Christ.
2023, bro.
I know you're in second place in my fantasy football league, but it's cool, man.
Not after tonight. I'll be back in first, and I'm still in first before this.
I thought you were in second.
Sorry.
Not that he likes numbers.
I lost for no reason.
I didn't get into that league.
That's because there was money involved and you didn't want to pay it.
I didn't realize this was a sports.
Not going off the rail.
I think
at all.
Krampus
Fuck
and the
you
Rye.
guys.
For me,
Right on.
that's the one where the barrel still comes through the most.
Which one? I'm sorry.
Krampus and the Rye.
Yeah.
I love how that barrel comes through, and especially how we rearranged a little bit. But
I was just going to say, I far prefer the can versus what we submitted.
Brandon, what is your favorite from the evening?
It is not on the table. It is the cuvee of all of them that I made.
Some left.
He poured all of them and he took a sip.
There's still all
Did you really?
left. Yeah, I did a cuvee.
Is there enough left for all of us to do something
Probably.
like that?
It's
Maybe?
fucking fantastic.
All right, so
let's go.
Besides the
Like,
cuvee.
yeah.
Besides the cuvee.
Dude, I'm torn.
Okay, Natalie and Brulia.
The breakfast one was really fucking good.
Yeah.
And I don't normally, like it, but the balance between the coffee and the maple and just the chocolate, the base characters of Krampus, I think that that and the s'mores one are number one for me.
Breakfast did. I will say this.
I was pleasantly surprised, but how not overwhelming the maple was, but how present it was. That's my take.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm embarrassed about the coffee question that I had earlier. For how many times I've had the Krampus variants. I guess I feel like maybe I asked about it because the coffee didn't pop as much as the breakfast. By the way, thank you, Trevor, for putting this together for me. Yeah, it didn't pop as much, and I like it. I think that
you got a full beer
again. I like I said, I didn't want to rank them, but breakfast is probably 2 for me. But also, everything else is a 2 for me on there. We're going to do cuvee.
Just so you guys know, we have an extra special surprise for you guys tonight. Since you guys have been such huge Krampus supporters for so long, we've kidnapped your kids, and we're currently beating them with reeds.
Oh my God.
There's a weird guy named John who said he's Krampus in a van right outside right now with your kids, beating the shit out of them.
Wow.
So I just want to let you know, thank you so much for everything you've done.
Surprise!
Oh my God! Wow, Mackenzie is probably not happy about that at all.
If your kid's a little too happy with it, there might need to be.
How's Benjamin doing?
Not be in college.
Mackenzie's at the age where you might have to question her.
Apparently, they don't know.
Whatever she wants to do
Krampus
is fine.
Additional surprise: Mackenzie is Krampus.
What the? Oh my God! That makes way more sense now. That is the actual
She's beating Benjamin.
It's just Mackenzie beating Benjamin. Trevor, what was your favorite of the night? We're just going off the night, or unless you want to do what's your favorite of all of these, man?
I would kind of go in an opposite way. I really like the OG, just because I've got to watch that. That was my original baby. It was the original idea. We started off with a 6% Krampus Cookies back in the day, and it
non-barrel-aged.
was
The very first one was just a fucking straight-up beer.
Do you remember we got recognized? We got recognized at Goose Island Stout Fest for having one of the more flavorful, low ABV beers, probably because it wasn't sustainable for the amount of coconut nibs and vanilla and everything that they were putting in it. And then that grew into Imperial Krampus, and then that grew into Krampus Cookies. And so I've really gotten to see, I remember sitting down with Tim and having the design on the label, by the way. I used to do etchings when I was a kid with chalk to have faces emerging out of the darkness. That was inspired by the original Rammstein Sin Soaked album. And I told Tim back in the day, I was like, I want a face coming out of the darkness of a Krampus. He goes, I got you. And he created this thing.
By the way, this was not that quick. This was 2 weeks.
Over. Yeah, it was
just
3 weeks.
Also, just so you guys know, this story is on the first time we did the Krampus episode. Yeah. But keep going.
No, I know.
Please, no,
it's fine.
But all these,
we'll do it again.
All of these little pieces. Every year that we do this, I'm always reminded of that story and that journey. And so I always love the original one because that's what it was supposed to be. And this year it's more chocolatey. It's more barrel forward. the vanilla puree, the heart and soul that we put into the original, all of the extra stuff is like icing on the cake for me. But what if OG isn't good, the rest is gonna suck, and that's why OG will always be my baby.
Yeah.
You know what's driving me nuts now, because when you brought that up, I'm not going to change my rankings.
That's okay. No.
But once you brought that up, I was like, oh fuck, man, the vanilla was really good in just Krampus cookies.
Yeah.
Like, I will say this, like, you know, there's, if you have to grab a variant, for me personally, Campfire, but OG is, it really is. Like, you hit the nail on the head. Like, if OG isn't great, nothing else is gonna.
Yeah, see, but the problem, like, when you
also, by the way, really mad we called it Fireside and not Campfire.
Oh, that's a good point.
Was I saying Campfire?
Yeah, you've been saying Campfire the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's
obviously that means that we named it wrong.
Sorry, guys.
Fireside is also
we gotta record the entire.
Fireside's also a shout out to Chicago. Fireside Bowl.
Yeah.
Hey!
Oh, hey! Yeah.
Totally did that.
What I was gonna say.
At the function, I'm into that.
Tim, if you cut off Brandon one more time, he's gonna let you do it a third
I need to hear Brandon.
No, it's hard to do. Like when you like Krampus Cookies is like the base. So in my mind, like it's fantastic, and it's hard. Like once you get into the variants, it's hard for me to like level that up into into that. So that's like on its own. To me, it's on its own level. And then when I go back into the variants, like then I can kind of rate that. But dude, like. The fact that there's a fucking beer that the aroma and the taste profile is like right on with like freshly baked chocolate chip cookies, like super awesome. Like I'm a fan of baked goods. I didn't get this heavy for nothing.
Well, you're right. I mean, like nail on the head. So I'm going to use these just two examples. When you have Revolution's regular Death Star, and you've got Bourbon County, you know, from Goose Island, the regular just. When you have those two, it's like, well, fuck, you're going to buy those, like, when they come out. And then the different variants that come out are like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool, I want to try this, I'm interested in this, interested in that. And you almost don't rank those two because you know they're just there. They're always just going to be there. And it's not a bad thing. It's just like, it's almost like, oh, I'm dependent on that one. Like, that's where I'm going to start.
That's your North Star.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's where you're going to start. That's what you're going to count on. And that's, you know, it's going to be solid no matter what. Except you guys found a way to make Krampus Cookies better again this year, man. So that's awesome.
Exciting, man.
I mean, that's the hope. I mean, that we make it better every year. Like, here's the thing. Any job you do, anything you do in your life, you should do better next time.
Unless you hate it.
Yeah. If you hate
then
it,
fuck that guy.
Well, yeah, okay.
Then do it just as good.
But realistically, if you're doing things, you should do it better next time.
Agreed.
But you learn from your mistakes, or not even just mistakes, just you're like, oh, that was good, but I can do it better.
All right, so
growing, progress.
Everything's worse. Timpin's been fired.
If any brewery ever tells you that they are peaked and they have done it right, they're wrong.
Yeah.
Do you have a previous?
You can always do it better.
Krampus can to just drive this point home.
Oh, geez.
Do you have a previous use? Just from a visual aspect. Yeah. So just so you know, like every year, Krampus started out pretty small on our cans, and then and he wasn't any darker, but he was smaller before.
Well, no, that's a new year. That's this year we grew the Krampus.
So not just in flavor profile alone, but
physically
making Tim's. Krampus even bigger over the years has been important.
At what point does Krampus get like so big where it's like the encompassing?
It would be so dope to have his horns like wrapping.
Dude, keep getting bigger. Like really, like Krampus is just getting closer and closer. Oh yeah, holy shit!
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
So yeah, he's got both. So you can see over the years. So that's 2022. That's 2021. So those boys are pretty much the same. Yeah. Actually, I would say 2021 is a little bit smaller. It looks smaller, but yeah. I think the label's just a little bit lower, but yeah, and then these two, and then you can see this year's Krampus is taking up more of the label. So, like, yeah, we're literally wanting to grow Krampus. So every year it'll become bigger until the whole can is white.
Dude, that would be so cool to, like, literally have, like, a giant Krampus, like, where the white is more encompassing and the black is just all the shadows. Yeah. That'd be badass. So we'll see that in 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
My back will hurt more then.
Yeah. He's not wrong. It will. He'll be 62. Boys. You guys, thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you.
For
thank you guys.
Doing this. It's so much fun. We love having you guys on here. I wish we all had schedules that would align where, honestly, the five of us hanging out would be the most fun. Maybe we'll do something again. Like we were talking about.
Weirdly enough, we all live here. We can all hang out.
We always hang out.
We smoke some meats.
I mean, that's
Some of
another
us
thing.
have kids, Tim.
Well, yeah, Tim.
Well-
you and your goddamn kids.
Sucks to have kids.
Oh, wait.
Not really.
Sorry, Tim
we
doesn't
could
have
Okay, wait, no, it doesn't.
Do it earlier and bring the kids. Kids can play and like.
Yeah.
kids. But in all seriousness, thanks again, guys, for bringing over the Krampus.
Appreciate it.
It's so much fun. We love you guys.
Thank you guys, as
Cheers.
always.
We
Cheers.
appreciate it. And everybody, if you are in the Midwest or you're coming to the Midwest soon in the Chicagoland area, definitely December 3rd is the Krampus. What is it? Krampus
Carnival.
Carnival. I was right because I kept saying Fireside for
And
so long. I didn't want to fuck it
For
up.
some of your listeners that are actually outside that will get a chance to this, 2 of the Krampus will be on Tavor probably by next week or a little bit later. So when this comes out, you actually will have a chance.
You do
on
not
Tavor
have to
see.
come to the Midwest.
That's actually very exciting to. Thank you, Matthew. That's exciting to say because like normally I feel bad when we do like a local show. I'm like, if you're in the area, like do this, but that's awesome.
There, you can get this outside of Chicago.
Super exciting, and everybody should do
2
it
variants.
as long as Trevor stops dropping fucking cheese balls on the ground. Brandon, on that note, hey man, I love you,
Love you too, bud.
and we love you guys too. Trevor, I love you. Matthew, I love you. Tim, I love you.
We love you.
Never fucking said that to any other guests. That's true. All right, happy Krampus Day, everybody.
Happy Krampus
Happy Krampus Day.
Krampus Eve.
Cheers.
This has been The Malting Hour. Be sure to follow us on all social media by searching The Malting Hour and at themaltinghour.com. You can also follow us individually on social media. Brandon can be found on Instagram as BMDub81, on Twitter, BDub81, and on Untapped as BDubDrinksBeer. Tony can be found on Instagram and Untapped under Ace of Help Chicago, on Twitter, The Ace of Help Chicago. Clark can be found as Clarkowski on all 3. Dan can be found on Instagram as hip__hops and hip hops on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, like, and rate the show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Until next time, cheers from all of us at the Malting Hour.